And let's go live. Hello everybody and welcome back to Encounter Roleplay. My name is Will and today we once again return to the world of Middle-earth. And we're back with episode 4 of Journey into Middle-earth as our adventures across the Dales and across Mirkwood take up arms once again and try and solve some of the shenanigans going on here. So let's go around the cast and crew, figure out who we are, who we're playing, all that good stuff, and then we'll do a recap of what happened last time as well. So, let's start with Mike. How's it going, Mike?
Hey, it's going pretty good.
Good.
Excuse the slight echo in my thing. I just got a brand new streaming room, which is pretty exciting.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I'm here, as always, on Mondays, and I'm playing Arvelon, son of Avalor, the hero of the Dales, savior of Middle-earth, etc., etc. Master of logistic planning. Yeah.
Indeed, yes.
Pretty great time.
Head of logistics in this campaign, I think it's safe to
head
say.
Of fellowship logistics. Sure.
Talk to us a little bit about Arvelon as well. You can find the character sheets here, you guys.
Yeah. Avalon, son of Avalor, he is a Dunedain man from the west who traveled east as a child with his father to investigate the coming darkness in Mirkwood. So he's pretty much been in the Dales his whole life. He grew up with Bard before he was King Bard. He's a tall man with dark hair, pale skin, and greenish-gray eyes. Typically wears a hood with a cowl pulled up over his face, and you can't really see his identifying features to know who he is. He kind of keeps his heritage quiet until recently poked by Hardwin, son of Hardwin.
Indeed.
Until he revealed who he was.
Fantastic. People are saying to up your mic volume, just so you know, Mike.
Sure.
Mike, get your mic up. Yeah. Kira, we got Kira back today. How's it going, Kira?
Good. I got my kitty.
Ah!
She's on the bed sleeping right now. Ah!
Cute.
But yes, I am playing Muriel. She is an elf from the southern Mirkwood area. She helped aid in the Battle of Five Armies 5 years prior, and she has gone north in search of aid to help fight the shadow that is taking over the Mirkwood. However, she is currently with our fellowship helping Bard, trying to get some allies.
Yes. Okay. Fantastic. And as per usual, guys, if you don't know, I'll bump everyone up. It's sounding quiet for some reason. Maybe the last group were just like really loud and you guys are all quiet. There we go. So 7 months for Josh. He's a newbie. Give him some slack, guys. Speaking of Josh, how's it going, my friend?
Yeah, it's going good. I don't know how I'm just adjusting mic and stuff, but I am back. I'm playing Hardwin, son of Hardwin, who is he's kind of the group reason, the voice of the party, which is scary. Especially when you're trying to control a party that has Mike in it. But no, he's sort of trying to bring people together. He is a man of Minas Tirith. He's a man of Gondor. He's sworn to the steward of Gondor. But that's sort of something he's done out of necessity to sort of honor his father, who everyone knows, as we found out in the last few episodes. Literally, my father knew more kings than there possibly are in Middle-earth current. So, kind of want to find out some stuff, and also I am Mike's supervisor when it comes to logistical issues. It's just, yep, just get it out.
That's true, very true. Let me know if the balance is starting to get better, guys. I'll turn mine down and bring theirs up, etc. Okay, so that is Hardwin, and we have Revolver back today. How's it going, my friend?
Hey guys, I'm good. Good to be back. Sorry for missing the last 2 weeks.
No worries.
Work was a real dick and a half, so... But I'm back.
That's the worst type of dick, isn't it? A dick and a half.
Yeah, it's a half of a dick too. So
that's a toughie.
But I'm playing as Bartleby Stonefoot, reprising my role as the dwarf of the group. I'm a dwarf of Erebor, and I am a treasure hunter. I'm looking to stake my claim in the dwarven houses, looking for my own riches, as Bilbo Baggins did before him. So.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So let's remind ourselves what happened last time on the show with our handy recap feature. This is to remind me as much as anyone else, really. So, last week on the show, the group of you were journeying in Middle-earth. It is the year 2946 of the Third Age, and the lands east of the Misty Mountains are astir. From the cloud-shrouded peaks above the high pass to the spider-infested gloom of the Forest of Mirkwood, paths long deserted are trodden once again. King Bard sees his new kingdom surrounded by good fertile land to be settled, but the desolation of the dragon Smaug left terrible scars on the world, and all the old maps were burnt. He needs heroes to go out and map the borders of his new kingdom, and to find an ancient elven village lost in Mirkwood named Redvale. So the Fellowship of the Dales last week arrived at the ancient elven site of Redvale, only to find the cast-out advisor Rycroft at the scene. She'd previously been implicated for a murder which she may or may not have committed, and been exiled by King Bard. She and her men had been digging up the long-dead elf Nestrian, looking for something, of which the party are currently not too clear what she was looking for, but certainly it must have been something if she was willing to travel that far through Mirkwood and go digging up old dead elves. As the party arrived, Arvalan's presence and his ancient Numenorian blood drew dark spirits and a Barrow-wight to life. Fleeing from its terror, the Fellowship captured Rycroft and brought her back to the Elven King's halls to await a meeting with Thranduil. Now, my recap there was very kind, I would say, on two members of this party, Josh and Mike, who, let's just say they let themselves down. They let themselves down last week. If you haven't watched last week, it has to be watched to be understood.
It's been a week and I'm still not okay. I'm not okay. And Will, did you get the group message? I'm going to share something for you guys in chat, which will make more sense if you saw last week's episode. Mm-hmm. 2 days after me and Mike's, I don't want to call it, we'll call it a tiff. We had a bit of a tiff. Yep. Okay, I don't want to.
A lover's quarrel.
A lover's quarrel. But yeah, I got a recommendation saying, considering your previous experience, why don't you consider this logistical manager for a company? And I was like,
you've got the qualifications.
So triggered. I was just going to be like, cool, let me just send you my CV, e.g. I'll send you last episode of Journey Through Middle-earth, and I think you'll find that I'm perfectly qualified.
Fantastic. So yes, essentially they managed to get these bodies back to Thranduil along with Rycroft and her man, who is still alive. But there was some shenanigans along the way. But all you need to know now is that our good friend Rowley Rushlight is spending some time with an elven acquaintance of his in a room alone. Her name is Philandra, and that's all you need to know.
They're just talking about plants.
Yeah, talking about plants. That's what elves do, right?
With birds and the bees, I think.
Yeah. So other than that, they're going to meet with Thranduil today, report back to him, and see if he's happy with them. As per usual, the ways you can interact with the show are as follows. Speaking of which, if you haven't followed, hit that follow button and join us when we hit 100 followers today, because we're already smashed through 80. You guys will get to decide anything which happens next in our campaign. You can throw a monster at them, you can throw a magic item at them, you could throw some bread at them, as you did previously in the last game. Also, if you haven't tweeted, here is a tweet for you to retweet, my friends. 20 retweets, same dealio happens. And of course, when we get 18 more pounds on our Kickstarter project, the Breath of Gore, D&D5E, and Pathfinder module, then the same shit will happen. So, check that out, my friends. And without any further ado, let us dive into today's adventure. Now, it's been a week. For some of us, it's been several weeks. Let's remind ourselves of what our characters actually look like. So let's get some physical descriptions. As you're within the Elven King's halls, you're basically down in these beautiful jeweled glittering caverns, and you each have your own room. There are elven kind of attendants who are there. They're armed and wary of you, but they've seen you here before and didn't cause too much trouble last time. So let's start with Bartleby. It's been a while since we've seen him.
Sure. So Bartleby is an average height dwarf, very stout of a nose, very stout of a body. He's a ginger. He has sort of a mop head. However, he covers that mop head with a fine silk hat that he's very well dressed, well adorned, and he braids his gingerly beard down to his belly. He has a walking stick as well as like a gold ring on his left hand.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he does not look like your average wanderer or traveler. He's very green,
Nice.
as we would say.
Yeah. Okay. Hardwin, the man with 2 nat 20s and 2 nat 1s underneath his name.
Yeah.
Remind us.
Slightly terrified about that. Hardwin is quite an elderly-looking guy. He's got graying hair. He's got quite a beard going on. He's wearing light leather studded armor. He carries a huge tower shield on his back, which is beset with the symbols of the white tree, and a long sword at his hip. Generally looks quite pissed off, quite weather beaten and scarred, and I think it's one of those things. He looks as if he's the eldest member of this party, quite considerably, and yet it's probably the youngest because elves and dwarves and fucking Dunedain and all that. Not salty. Not salty.
Not at all. Not at all. Kira.
So Muriel's got the very traditional elven appearance, tall, slender, very prominent facial features, long, like blonde hair, fair skin. She typically likes to wear her traveling cloak, but when she's in the halls, they last time gave her traditional elven garb to wear, which I would be assuming if they had offered it to her again that she would put it back on. She's trying not to step on anyone's toes.
Okay, cool. What about Arvelan?
Arvelan is still tall, dark, handsome, ladies. Pale skin, green-gray eyes. With his, he doesn't have his hood on, his cloak on here in the Elf King's halls because the Elf King knows exactly who he is. So he doesn't really have to hide anything from him. But yeah, he's kind of pacing his room, waiting for it to be called on.
Okay, fantastic. So each of you are called upon by Nerfo. Nerfo is the elven attendant who has previously been guarding the way into the Elven King's halls and has blindfolded you all and stripped you of your weapons, which are in safekeeping, you know, along with reprising some special elven badges, which are not owned by you but found, that you found them from Rycroft's camp, and they have kind of reprised those somewhat from you guys. So he comes and gets you shortly after, and he says, "The king is ready for you. As once again, you should all be on your best behavior. He is particularly interested in meeting with the dwarf."
Bloody hell. It's kind of grumble.
He gives you a kind of he seems nervous about you, so he shoots you a kind of warning sort of glance. Very well, then, Arvelan, I trust that you can keep him in check.
Can anyone really keep a dwarf in check?
Well, they can certainly try.
He turns on his heel and leads you up these set of stairs out of the glittering caverns to Thranduil's hall. He opens these sort of double doors for you, full Aragorn move, of course, and you see Thranduil standing here, once again, an incredibly beautiful and yet intimidating figure, whose beauty can't be denied, and neither can his kind of the way which he's quite imposing with long eye contact and unquivering stare when he is angered, as he seems to be somewhat angry at this point, because there is not even the flicker of a smile. Indeed, he seems to be completely sort of straight-faced, back straight, wearing his formal robes as his long hair falls down around him. And Nerfo does a deep bow and encourages you guys to do the same. Once again, the Fellowship of the Dales, this time with one Bartleby Stonefoot with them.
I'll give like I'll bow, but not like a full bow. Kind of like a bow that just you're forced to do.
Yeah, that kind of stiff back sort of, I guess I'll bow. Thranduil nods very slightly. What do you have to report to me? And Nefo leaves the room very quickly.
Arvelon takes a minute, or takes a second, pauses. He says, "We found the humans that we had mentioned previously, this Rycroft and her companions. They are all dead, except for the two we brought here with you today. It appears as though they were besmirching the tombs in Redvale, defiling them, searching for something. We also noticed that they released several wights upon our entrance."
And did you destroy these creatures of darkness?
He hesitates.
I
Kinda
take
like
that
looks-
as a no.
No, they fled south.
Bring her forth. And previously, Rycroft and the man have been kind of thrown over to Thranduil. You had no say in this matter, as they were under, your Thranduil's jurisdiction, I suppose. And they bring out Rycroft, who's kind of slung into one of those wooden stocks that's moving with her, so it's not like a static stocks, but her arms are held and her head is in it as well. She is bruised and beaten, and she looks like she can kind of barely see out of her sort of broken eyes. And he turns back to look at you and says, "The other man was not so forthcoming." Now,
I'm not surprised.
yeah, he gives a little nod and says, "Now, do you have any idea of where these creatures headed? You said south. Did you track them at all?"
No, when they burst forth from the tombs, we took quite the punishment. It was all we could do to make it out alive.
See. My scouts tell me that they have been incredibly active, and that forces of darkness have been surrounding the southern Mirkwood area. Perfectly in time with this happenstance. Now, I do seem to recall telling you all not to awaken anything that lived there. That, I believe, was my primary concern. Was that
Trust
nothing?
me, if we had a choice, nothing would have been awoken.
Explain yourself.
Upon entering and confronting these people defiling the graves of our ancestors, these creatures burst forth from the tombs and attacked us.
This one here tells a different story. A story of one being called forth due to your blood, Arvelan, that you awoke Taraldar. The blood of Sigurd runs through you.
I kind of interject to be like, "Where do you trust the word of a murderer?"
I trust the word of one that has nothing to lose.
Aye, but she has to gain her freedom.
Oh, I've made it very clear to her that freedom is not on the table. So,
Even still, as I said, had there been a choice, they would not have awoken.
I'll admit that it is unfortunate that you were there. Not entirely your fault, but in my eyes you do bear some of the blame, you and your party. So, what are you going to do to fix it?
Arvelon reaches, I assume he has part of his pack on him or something like that.
Sure, yeah.
He reaches his pack around, kind of kneels down, and he unwraps the flower or he unfurls the flower that Rowley had handed to him. And he looks to whatever the guard is in the room, and then slowly begins to walk towards Thranduil with the flower outstretched.
He takes it with great care, almost as if it were a newborn, child. And Thranduil says, interesting. Then this is what she sought. And looks back at Rycroft. You can tell, like, he looks like he might be very close to, like, kicking her in the face. As he holds this very kind of item of great sanctity to him within his hands. And he says, this is the Rose of Nestrian. It is said that all of her love and care for Sigurd was kept within this flower, and that even though she died, life would still be in this flower forever, whilst there was still hope. It will also, if legend is to be believed, lead you to Sigurd's body, where lies the sword. The sword of Sigurd, which may yet have a chance to destroy Taraldar and his kin. And he holds the rose up to the light. It seems as though fate has chosen you. He doesn't seem very happy about that, though.
Neither does Arvelon. And he kind of like glances back at everyone else, and he looks back to Thranduil and he says, well, I guess that's your answer.
Indeed. And he very kind of gently hands you back the rose.
He takes it and wraps it.
Yeah. See that good care is taken of this, for without it, you will be lost, as he was before you. But I'm sure that you still need to inform your king and your kin. And perhaps still learn more. There is a wizard in these forests whom you might seek out. Radagast. Perhaps it would be wise for you to speak with him.
He kind of looks dismayed at the mention of a wizard. He says, yes, sure. We'll speak to Radagast.
He lives at Roscobel, north of Dol Guldur, in the forest. Be careful, though, for surely shades and spectres haunt his lands now that you have released them.
Among other things.
Alternatively, return to your king if you must, and tell him of what is happening there. Seek his aid and knowledge. I leave this task in your hands. Consider us your temporary allies. And he kind of spits out the word.
What is your purpose with Rycroft the Betrayer?
Why?
What's your intent?
What would you have me do with her? Send her back to you?
She has committed murder in the city of Dale.
I am under the understanding that her crimes have been, well, her punishments have been meted out for that crime and exiled from these lands. No, those crimes do not concern me. The crime of disturbing Redvale does, however. Do you think she can be useful to you? Or has her purpose been used?
At that, he turns to Hardwin.
Damn it, man, I was having a really good day. The Elven King just said he'd be an ally of mine. That's fucking huge. And you ruined it.
I imagine Arvelon turns to you and you're like...
Yeah, no, I've gone from that to seeing you turn around and look at me, and we're talking about execution, and he doesn't look so cheerful anymore. But yes.
Man of Gondor, then. What would you have me do with this one?
I look to my kin, my friends, those I knew, who I've buried.
whatever the reason, I could not forgive someone who disturbed their rest. Especially not for such selfish endeavor. Someone who wishes to regain honor shouldn't aim to stoop so low.
Very well. Myrrel, what are your
She should be
thoughts on this
punished.
matter? Oh,
You should be punished.
good. And Dwarf, do you disagree?
Well, anything you do to her is too good for her. So I abide by your judgment, your grace.
Very well. In that case, I will do with her as I see fit. I'm sure you will need some time to consider your plans to whence you will travel and what you will do. If you need guidance in this matter, then Nefo is my right hand. And if you need supplies or anything for your journeys, then you will let him know, and he will provide them. Aside from that, are there any other matters with which we need to discuss?
I don't think so.
Hardwin very timidly sort of almost sort of raises a hand like a school kid in sort of not really sure how to he knows how sort of to address the steward. The steward's a very particular man. He knows his customs, but I mean he has no idea what he's doing here, so he sort of holds up his hand and says, Your Grace, I wondered if I might know more of my father, of his dealings with your kingdom. I understand your time is incredibly valuable, but if there were writings, scripture, anything of the sort.
Of course, speak with Nerfo. He will allow you limited access to our annals.
He gives a very deep bow, and shuts up.
Very well. Then see to it that you sort this problem as soon as possible, for if there is darkness gathering at Dol Guldur, then you can be sure that it'll see itself into greater power shortly. What you have unleashed, or which has been unleashed, needs to be stopped. I would advise your people to arm themselves and to be ready for something. For our elven trackers have whispered of darker things to the east, rumors of a shadow growing in the old lands of Arnor. If something has been awakened, then it is not alone, and it is not without purpose. Know that your task is an important one. That doesn't mean I have to accept that you are blameless in this. So, go. Seek out the sword of Sigurd, and see to it swiftly before more lives are ended.
Out of character, did the group run into any orcs or goblins? Because there were like rumors of them being in
Yes,
Mirkwood.
you did run into a band. You've heard of a band somewhere in northern Mirkwood.
Okay.
And they specifically, you'll know a name, Nogra, the Dark Emissary. I'll put it in the Zoom chat for you, but he's supposedly gathering forces. We know next to nothing about him, other than apparently this isn't news to Thranduil. However, grave robbing was. Which
Yeah.
is why we got an audience.
Also, Thranduil doesn't have like a great deal of elves to like sacrifice on things, so his military power isn't such that he can just send out armies to deal with this sort of thing.
Gotcha. Cool.
So yeah, if you deal with that along the way, that would probably be a way of getting back into Thranduil's good books. So who knows? So Thranduil bids you farewell from his halls, and Nerfo is outside once the doors are closed. Does a polite little bow to you. So, what will it be this time?
Nethra, do you have scouts to the south?
Of course. We scoured all
How
of
far
Mirkwood.
south?
Several leagues.
None so far as Dogledore, though.
None of our kind dare venture that far.
What do your scouts report below the mountains?
A report came in only earlier today. Dark news. Grave tidings of greater forces of orcs and goblins being drawn to the area, pulling ever southwards. Perhaps this has something to do with your figure.
I'll need access to the annals. I need to plan our next leg of our journey. We're to
Of
see
course.
Radagast.
Very well. Need you word sent back to your king. I can make sure that a bird is sent.
Absolutely.
I kind of interject as well. I'm like,
Can you send a bird to the dwarven emissary in town and there as well? Let them know of their murderous fate.
Well, of course.
I totally forgot a dwarf was killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
wow,
I forgot we
Yeah.
had a dwarf at the party.
Wow.
not my Dundee,
Savage.
let me tell you.
He says, of course. Write them up for me and I'll have them sent by the end of the day. Now,
Arwan nods and
the annals are this way. Will anyone else be needing anything in the immediate?
Hardwin sort of steps forward and says, Thranduil said that I might read of my father's travels to this land. He told me to speak to you about discovering more.
Of course, if you think that would be a pressing matter, which will solve this issue, then of course. And Nefo turns and leaves. He's-
He's just like, well, I don't fucking plan the journeys. Although I should. Because,
the elf
sorry.
just shits all over Hardwin.
I love that. It's just like, yeah, oh, your dad was a great friend of ours. You want to learn about it? Fuck you.
Nefo don't give no shits.
Great, I hope that helps you kill the shadow.
Yeah, I really hope that's helpful. Okay.
Hey,
Dad
were
did
you
great
expecting
with
a
that.
different answer?
Yeah.
Really?
So it leads you down to the kind of crypts where the annals are kept, which is a gigantic library with thousands of scrolls kept and neatly ordered by dozens of elven attendants. And Arlan, he'll take you towards the maps, and Hardwin, he'll take you towards matters of Hardwin and the Men of Gondor.
Is there a section for my dad? The heroine.
You
It's a
can roll
small
me
section.
a history check. Yeah, and Josh, you are coming through like super quiet at the moment.
I don't know. I've changed
Better
nothing.
now.
That's better
Is
now.
that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, host Luna.
Sorry. A history check.
History check, bit of one. And Arvalan, you can begin to plot your route to Rosgobel. What do Miral and Bartleby want to be doing in this meantime?
I actually think Muriel would want to help Arvelan with the planning the route, just
Okay.
because she's from that area.
Sure. Okay, what about Bartleby? There's plenty to explore around this elven halls as well, if Bartleby wanted to have a poke around, of course.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna do. I was gonna write the emissarial letter, saying like what has transpired in Red Vale and what's become of the murderer Rycroft.
Okay.
And then probably just like poke around the halls and, kind
Yes.
of go to the kitchen like, hey,
Hey, what is the meat in here?
The elven chefs turn to you, and you've smelt this delicious honey cake smell. This is kind of waft of like warm bakery, kind of sweet honey wafting up towards you, and your nose has led you down here to the kitchens, where there are two elves who are wearing these big kind of like chef hats, and they are baking honey cakes. They smell absolutely delicious, and they turn to you and. They are no meat as such. The hunt hasn't come in yet. There are honey cakes. Good dwarf, would you try one?
I'll kind of like sniff it. Like, and then I'll I'll try a bite.
I'm sure there's less poison in it than there is in that ale that your people brew. And you eat it. It tastes really good. It's very more. It's just imagine like a. I don't think Americans call them flapjacks. We do.
Pancakes?
Sure. Yeah. Similar to that. And just like dripping and oozing with syrup and honey. And you can fill up on these quite quickly. And the elf says, perhaps you would take some with you on your travels.
Oh, yeah, but we'll keep it just between you and I.
The elf gives a bit of a wry smile and says, "Of course, the king will not know of this transgression," and hands you a a little hamper, basically, wraps them up for you. Safe journeys, dwarf. It's been a while since we've had one of your kind loud in our halls.
Aye, it's my one of my few encounters with your kind as well. Can't say they've all been pleasant, but...
Well, it's good to be able to set aside our differences and partake of honey cakes together from time to time.
Aye.
And I'll raise the honey cakes they gave me as like a gesture of cheers.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you go and have some delicious honey cakes with them. Muriel and Arvelan, you're planning your journey. Any questions you want to ask me about getting to Rosgobel?
Yeah, is there some kind of roll we can make to plan the journey?
Yeah, you guys can roll me survival checks. Yeah.
Sure. Cool. I can do that.
Your sat-nav roll. Josh had to go, Brittany.
Oh.
He'll be back in a minute.
23 work?
A 23 works just fine, and a 21 as well. Very nice. So the two of you know that the further south you get, the more dangerous it gets. And Radagast lives north of Dol Guldur, which is here on the map, and Rosgobel is about here on the map. So you're going to have to, once again, travel... You're actually going to have to travel through the Mirkwood Mountains this time, rather than just coming up to them. So the first half of your journey you're familiar with. You can take the boats once again down to get towards near where Red Vale is, and then circumnavigate Red Vale itself, presumably, and take the pass down to the south. Unfortunately for you guys, it gets to be thick woods. Once you're the other side, on the southern side of the mountains here, there's no easy path through, and so that's when things are going to get particularly difficult, and that's where you've heard that there are goblins and orcs gathering in greater numbers. You know where the shadow has gone. So Radagast lives deep within those. You guys can roll me a traditions check.
What is that skill?
Is that religion?
Let's remind me, because these new damn things. Yeah, roll me religion, actually. That'll work.
Sure.
Could they do history?
Does
If
it-
it's
does
better?
it- How does a nat 20 work?
Oh, wow. That one.
Nat 1 and a nat 20.
That's impressive. So, Arvelan, you've heard of the tales of wizards. You've heard of Radagast Brown. You know that he's very much all about nature, and the care of animals and the wood life of Mirkwood. You also know that because Mirkwood is essentially dying, it's a bit like the Great Barrier Reef, right? It's dying. And with the...
It's already proclaimed.
It's dead. Yeah, I know. I saw that yesterday. Yeah, you know that the darkness is getting worse and worse, and most likely Radagast is running into more problems. You also know, on a kind of traditions level, that you can't just turn up to someone like Radagast's house and expect him to answer you, because he's one of the 5 wizards that exist in the universe, right? So you need to have a very good reason for Radagast to want to meet with you, and you know that if he doesn't want to meet you, there's no way you'll ever find him in the Mirkwood, and his house will be, almost invisible towards you guys, or you'll just never come across it. Yeah. You're going to need to figure out something to gain Radagast's attention, you're pretty sure.
Okay. Shit.
Yeah.
I got honey cakes.
Yeah, that'll get his attention. I got a
That'll
hedgehog.
work. 10 out of 10.
Okay, Miro has
okay.
no idea about Radagast, really. You know that he is a
Never heard of the
person
guy.
who exists, but, you've been in Mirkwood, you've never seen him. He might be a myth.
I mean, I'm not there with him, but in the book, I don't know what's in the book from there and back again.
Mhm.
Do they explain Radagast?
God, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know how much Radagast is mentioned in there and back. I can tell you. I'd let you roll a history check, and that would
Well,
be
I'm not there with him. I'm
true. Yeah.
too busy gorging myself with him.
I mean, you did hear the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I was curious as
I mean, most
if I knew. the name.
most people who are kind of familiar with legends would have a recognition of the name at the very least. So that's what Arvalan knows down in the annals. Hardwin, what was your history check, my friend? It was 19.
It was a 19, yes.
Cool. Yeah, here's what you learn about Hardwin. So, there was once a large kind of infestation of orcs around the king's halls. Hardwin was traveling through the Mirkwood, although it doesn't mention why he was there, but it does mention that he was with a band of the men of Gondor. And this infestation was essentially put down by Hardwin and his men to great relief of Thranduil and his elves. And it was mentioned that it was a very rare circumstance that any kind of honors are given to people who are not elves. But Hardwin was actually granted a small amount of land within the Elven King's lands. And as far as you're aware, that land is still there.
It's your dad's summer home.
But your dad has died.
Does that... Okay, would I be able to research whether or not that land now belongs to me? Because if so, I should probably do something about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me another
Like
history
a
check.
tradition or-
Yeah, history or tradition would work for me.
Yeah, I think they're exactly the same. History. And 8. I don't know shit. In fact, can I just spend a nat 1 to not know anything about this at all?
Sure, I'll let you have the nat one
I
on
have
that one.
no fucking idea because yeah.
Yep, you have no clue how land is handed down in Elven society. Yep.
Next meeting, I'll bring it up with Thranduil. I'll be like, about the land you owe me.
Yeah. Well, there are Elven scholars around who are keeping these annals in this gigantic hall. It's possible you could ask one and they'd know.
Yeah, I'm gonna get on that.
Okay.
I'm gonna do the classic British thing of wait awkwardly while they study. So I could be there for an hour as I realize they're just not gonna stop reading and then have to interrupt.
Okay. So the name of the place, the kind of area of land, is known as Elrenon, which I will spell for you in the fluffy Elven way. Elrenon. So pronounce that as if you were French, basically.
Elrenon.
Elrenon. And as far as you can tell from the records, it's like a small kind of piece of land within the Elven King's lands. Sorry, did you want to speak with one of the scholars about it?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so he sort of awkwardly clears his throat and says, I apologize for interrupting your research, but could you tell me that there is a place called, and he sort of studies the script in Elrenon, and he'll point it out.
Yeah, the guy kind of snatches a piece of paper from you, sighs at your butchering of the the pronunciation, and says, "Yes, it would seem. Are you not Hardwin, son of Hardwin?"
Aye.
Then these lands will belong to you.
What?
It is a rare honor that a human is given any kind of land or titles within our kingdoms, but they are hereditary, as is customary amongst your people. Your father did the king a great service.
Aye, he was a great man. Though, it seems modest. He never spoke to me of them. I'm not even sure what I'll find there.
Well, I suggest you speak with Nefa. He can see that the proper giving of the lands is overseen.
Thank you for your time. I'll leave you with your studies. I need to get back. I haven't seen my party in some time. Must speak of travel arrangements.
He nods.
Which is Hardwin for... Where's the dwarf who likes shiny things? Shit, he's loose somewhere in... And yeah, he's going to sort of go in search of the dwarf.
Very nice. Fantastic. So,
Do I find any shiny things?
yeah, you can roll me a stealth check. Also, it looks like we just smashed through our most recent Kickstarter goal. Thank you, Elven Lady, for that, my friend. Which means that we do have a viewer decision. So, underneath this line here in chat, I want an Elven artifact or item which Bartleby Stonefoot is going to find. Underneath that line there in chat, what Elven artifact does he find?
Yay. Perception, you said?
Perception check would be great.
Hey, I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah.
But not today, so I got an 8.
Not today. Okay. We'll get back to that in a minute. So let's cut back to Mirrol and Arvelan, back down in the animal room. What are you guys up to?
I guess Arvelan would kind of be going over the maps. He would be kind of absent-mindedly muttering about going to see Radagast and his general disdain for the wizards. Just because they do a lot of talk. Very few of them take a lot of action, much like elves.
Yeah.
And he doesn't hide that fact that he's saying this under his breath. And yeah, he's kind of like planning the map, and then he remembers that Mural's there, and then he just shifts the map over to her so that she can see it. He says, yeah, no, I forgot. So south.
Yes. It would be a lot more dangerous to go through the mountains. However, what if we backtracked a bit, went down the river to Old Forest Road, and then traveled through that way?
That could work.
Yeah, you guys do have a kind of choice to make. You have to go either over the mountains or through the mountains. Going around them is also possible, I suppose. You would have to actually go out of the Mirkwood and take quite a roundabout route to do that, which would take you much longer. So I guess there's 3 options there. So over, through, or around. But not under.
Will, can we see the super awesome other map?
Yeah. Let me jump you over to that. It's a bit clearer, isn't it?
More detail.
It is. This one's just sexier. Let's go. Let's start. There we go. So this one here, and
the logistics map.
The logistics map are clearly drawings. You guys are, here-ish right now, and you're looking to get. I'll draw another shape. You're looking to get about here-ish, and you are about, here.
I'm not there, but I'm going to ask these questions later, so can I ask you, Will?
Yeah, absolutely.
So he can know.
I mean, we can, reconvene for the sake of...
Yeah, good. So, Hardwin catch up. The Old Forest Road, how well trod is it?
Not.
Okay. So we're very unlikely to run into people on it.
Yeah, it's literally why the elf road, the new elf road above the mountains, was made. Is because they lost that road.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay.
So it's unlikely you run into people. It's possible you run into things.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna happen anyways.
Yeah, essentially everything below the mountain is bad.
Yep,
Yeah.
bad news.
I guess. I mean, what were the choices? Go through the mountains or go over them?
Over
Go
them.
over, through, or if we want to backtrack, we can go around by the long
We
lake.
don't have time to go around.
Right.
I'd say if we go over, it's the elements we're gonna face. But I mean, if we go through, I
call it a mine.
yeah,
Mine!
I mean,
So mine.
going around isn't that bad if we take the river.
yeah, but that would require a boat, and I
Yeah.
can't.
You could look into like boat services if you really wanted to do that.
I refuse.
What if we tie two carts to a boat?
We tie 5 bodies to a boat.
What if we make an elaborate kite and tie that to the front of the boat?
Mike, I actually had a nosebleed on stream the other day. That's how stressed I've been late. Don't push me, please, for the love of
That's
God.
my new goal.
Don't-
For the day.
Don't test me, Mike! I'm not trying to
Don't
hurt
ask me
you.
for a conjurer of cheap tricks.
I'm trying to help you.
So if we're reconvening
Yeah,
after
that's-
looking at the plan,
Yeah.
Arvelon would have his map out, and he would look to Bartleby, and ask him, the mountains of Mirkwood. Your people have a stronghold there, or had. Have they had?
Did they? I mean, out of character, did they? I know.
Sorry, ask me the question again. I was not paying attention to that.
Did the dwarves have a stronghold in the mountains of Mirkwood before?
No.
Yes, they did.
So certainly, certainly there are, that there's caves through there. Certainly, dwarven explorers have been through the mountains of Mirkwood, but it's not like the dwarves have like a stronghold there. And even if there was like an ancient one, it's long dead.
Yeah. Honestly, Bartleby would not know that because he's very green outside of Erebor and kind of like going towards the Iron Hills and doing like carpentry work with his dad. So
Sure.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
So-
You're a lonely mountain dwarf.
yeah. So I would not know. I would just kind of shrug my shoulders and eating my honey cake.
Yeah, you've never heard of it at the very least.
So, Will, the mountains of Mirkwood are one of my one of my known lands. Would
Yeah.
I know what kind of creatures might be in those caves? Is there a roll I can make?
Absolutely. I'll tell you straight up, seeing as you know the area quite well, Arvel, and what you can expect and what you've heard from Thranduil. Orcs, yes. Goblins, plenty of them. And maybe even these shades and specters, but it seems unlikely. It seems like you'd be dealing with the kind of mundane sort of creatures. Even beasts live up in those mountains. Wargs, caragors, potentially. Maybe breeding up there. The goblins like to breed them. And so it's entirely possible that they have breeding grounds up there now that their foothold has grown so strong. That for a small band, it's not impossible, or maybe even that difficult to avoid bands of roving orcs and goblins for a group as small as yours. It's like the Mines of Moria effect. We can get through here because only 5 of us, but they would outnumber you greatly.
So with that, he kind of tells that to everybody. He explains that the area is swarming with goblins and orcs. The mines might be, or the caves through the mountain might be no different. And then he kind of looks to Hardwin, and he says, "You up for a bit of sport?"
What's the game?
Goblins, obviously. And you up for revenge? He looks to Muriel.
As long as we don't get ourselves killed.
Hardwin, you look like you have
Right.
to say something.
I'm just no. It's just like, well,
He's doing the British thing again.
Yeah.
Aren't we the enthusiastic ones?
Oh wait.
No,
Oh wait.
I'm British. I know how to queue. So yeah, he's going to stand, and he says,
If that is our path, then it is one I will tread. But I feel like we need to establish a certain degree of fighting awareness between us.
Yes, of course. No more boats and carts. I understand.
What?
What?
Does that mean?
Arvalan, you're bleeding profusely from a dagger wound to the neck. Okay.
So just see Rowley in the background just sneaking off. So he says,
My recommendation would be that those who struggle in a up close and personal scrap stick by me.
and with that he just hauls this huge shield off his back and brings it down the floor, and against like the stone there's that satisfying ring of metal, and he says,
I'm a sworn defender of the tower. I know how to defend people too, but only if you stay by me. Can't defend you if you're up in a tree. He looks to Meryl, and then hiding under rocks. He looks to Bartleby, or running off to get yourself killed in some foolhardy endeavor.
Who's he looking at?
It's,
Arvalan looks to Bartleby.
Arvalan's not sure. No, he looks to Arvalan, and
If we do this, we have to do this together.
Agreed.
Agreed.
what? I guess sort of Rowley will be informed of our travel arrangements, or is he?
Rowley will be traveling with you, but there's no need to worry about him right now.
Yeah. No. I just wanted to, because I was going to, like, this is the part where we all just assume, and then Will's like, no, Rowley's been missing for days and no one's asked. We're like,
He's been having some raunchy Elven sex.
this is true.
He knows no other kind.
Indeed.
Oh god, the image.
Something to write home.
Oh,
about.
Gerald, now let me tell you, boy, my boy, about the raunchy elven sex.
The brothels, my boy.
Well, let me tell you, the elven brothels. God, it's a lie.
The restaurants, my boy.
Gerald,
Land are alive.
Gerald, I made the mistake the dwarves once made. I delved too deep.
Too greedily.
No.
I need to find a way to use that in real life now.
Oh God, no.
Next time on Paths There and Home. If you haven't checked out Greg's updates on that, that's so good. Okay.
Oh God.
All right. So bringing it back, what is our plan here? We want to go through the mountains.
Seems like going
sounds like
through the mountains.
okay.
Yeah.
Going through the Mirkwood Mountains, traveling via boat along the first leg of the journey, then through the mountains. You want to walk from?
I assume basically the exact same we went to Red Vale, but now we're going to go through the mountains.
Yeah, same point to Red Vale that you know already, through the mountains, and then from there, walk until you find Radagast. Next question, how are you planning on getting Radagast's attention? As I'm sure Arvalan mentions to you, that
Arvalan
audience...
does mention that to everybody.
Yeah, an audience...
He has no idea.
An audience of a wizard like Radagast will require something, whether that's a show of magic or a powerful item or true cause.
Well, what about the rose?
I was gonna say, I presume you mentioned he's all about nature and magic and stuff. I will. Yeah, he points to Meryl because Meryl's hit the nail on the head. The hammer on the head with a nail. She hit
Didn't work at all, but
She's not a great DIY expert.
Nailed it.
My God. Can she spot a rose? Yeah. Fucking elves.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I guess that's.
So you've got the rose. That may well be something that you need to like keep out or actively protect. Okay,
However,
go ahead.
one thing I will just ask, as it's out there, if we need another item or artifact, and this is something that's going to be on his mind, I'm going to look to Bartleby, who has a lot of shiny objects and is sort of not very welcome here, and just see if he's been keeping out of trouble. Has he been keeping out of trouble, Will? Because there's been no word on that, unless you've been messaging Revolver quietly about something you might have found along the way.
I found the one ring. It's cool.
It's cool. Don't worry about it.
Keep on the 2 ring.
Yeah, Bartleby has managed to find a what appears to be an elven circlet, not uncommon to the one which Thranduil himself wears. You've managed to pinch this off of a very nice kind of like museum table, I suppose, out of a glass cabinet from it, Bartleby. And as you wear it, if you were to put it on and to give it a test maybe in your room where no one can see you, you can see the true intentions of people, of men in particular. You're not sure if this will work on elves, but it certainly sees into the hearts of men very clearly.
Safe.
Can I, do I have like anything? I'll just like rummage through my backpack, see if I have like a circlet that kind of looks almost kind of like it.
You want to do like a replacement?
Yeah.
You want to do the
pretty
Indiana
much.
Jones sort of deal? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you can do that. It's safe to say that
I'll
Bartleby
kind
has...
of like rummage around, be like, I might have something around here, and I'll just like place it on the table. Like I don't even care if it looks alike. It's just kind of there. And
This is where he's just like, the only thing I have that is similar is this belt that I'm wearing, and it's with all of my family's names inscribed in it. I'll just leave that there. In place.
Yeah, property
They'll
of...
never know it was me.
Property of Bartleby Stonefoot written on the back, yeah.
It was only determined that he's good at stealing, not the cover-up job.
It's very true. Very true. Okay, so you've...
I did like a 14 sleight of hand. If
Okay,
anyone
I like
was
it.
around.
Yeah, so you managed to pilfer that, and you return back to the kind of annal room where Arvelan, Muriel, and Hardwin are poring over their
Hey,
maps.
what's going on here? I didn't steal anything, nope.
I immediately draw my sword.
You don't have sword on you.
Oh, bollocks! I immediately go for a sword I'm not currently wearing and just... What have you done?
I don't know what you're talking about. I got honey cakes.
And I'll kind of offer it to
You stole
Hardwin.
from the pantry.
No, they gave it to me. I was looking for some meat and they said that it wasn't there, and then one thing led to another, and now I have honey cakes.
I find that unlikely.
You can roll a deception check versus active insight checks of the group if you want to roll
I
them.
mean,
Yeah.
not lying.
Absolutely.
Yes, you are.
No, they gave me the honey cakes.
An omission of truth does not equal the truth.
I think it's the did you steal anything?
Well, I rolled a 2, which is now a 1.
Did you steal? No, I have honey cakes.
Exactly.
The no, I think, is the lie.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, when you walked into the room and went, I didn't steal anything.
Yeah, that may have given you away somewhat.
It's a super believable thing.
Yeah, totally is. You guys are pretty convinced that Bartleby has nicked something.
I looked at Arvelan and just say, I'm new to these lands, but to dishonor the king, to steal from the king, what would that earn someone of his kin?
So he crouches down incredibly condescendingly towards Bartleby and says, if you get caught, no amount of barrels will save you.
Well,
Relevant humor.
I just gotta find a barrel big enough, I guess.
kind of just shrug.
And just says, oh, that's interesting. I've never heard of dwarven burial barrels, but I'm sure you'll be breaking new ground. In fact, I'm astounded you don't break ground more often. And he just sort of pokes at the dwarf's gut and nods to Arvalan as, for once, we're bonding and I'm enjoying this. And
Welcome back, Rev.
Yay, mutual hatred.
yeah.
This is why
Yay,
dwarves can't be trusted.
bullying. Racial bullying.
Yeah,
Yay.
exactly. Hey, it's not our fault. He plays up to the stereotype. It's not on us, okay?
Oh,
Stereotypes
Tolkien.
okay?
Yay, actual racism.
Yes.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, it looks like we have our path.
It looks like you do. Next question I was going to get to. When do you want to leave? Now, you can, right this second, you can take time to gather supplies, rest up and heal and the type. There are plenty of downtime activities in this game that you can do, which is actually a mechanic in the game. The mechanic's name escapes me, but it's basically downtime. Which is I can decide to start building a weapon or build a house or train a horse, something like that. Now, I don't really necessarily care about diving into downtime mechanics like rolling and stuff like that, but if you guys wanted to spend a week here and do stuff, or a day here and be starting a project or something like that, that could be interesting to see you guys progress over the course of the campaign, as generally these campaigns are expected to take in-game time several years, so you're not necessarily under as much time pressure as one would be. They did spend a week or two in Rivendell fucking around, it's not like the Long March where it's like, fuck, things are going on, but the activities are there in case you did want to start doing something.
Yeah. So you guys will sort of see Hardwin pull. I presume, was I allowed to take the thing that says that I own land?
Yeah. You can speak to Nerfo about that.
Yeah. So he will sort of he's going to turn to the party and probably to sort of almost shutting Bartleby out. Simply because he's talking to Arvalan, who knows the land, and Myril, who sort of he still considers this her land. And he pulls like a small, probably like a rubbing of a scroll, a copy, and places it down, and says, "Do either of you know of the process of inheriting land in these parts?"
Can I make a roll to check if I do? I'm from a different part.
You could roll me history or traditions on that.
It's religion traditions?
I think it's wisdom based, so it's basically just renamed.
Okay.
An 18.
An 18, pretty good. So yes, you're aware that for the most part, now I wouldn't consider this a communist thing, but the elves would quite happily reappropriate land for people who don't need it, or people that have died, families that have died out, will very quickly be given to the person who needs it the most, or on a more kind of favor for favor kind of deal, where Thranduil then I guess more like the Queen of England, where the Queen technically owns lots of lands and she can give it to people if she wants, and if land goes unclaimed, then technically it would become the King or Queens of the time, right? So it's unusual, but you would know that in extreme circumstances, the king can see to lands being owned by humans, which then falls under the human law, which is much more hereditary, right? So when you die, your son gets it, and your son gets it, and then your son gets it. So yeah.
Okay. Typically, if land is given to man, then it follows your laws of inheritance, but
Right.
yeah.
So he will sort of like underline with his finger where it says Elron, and then he'll underline where it has his father's name as the bearer of the land, and he sort of looks to Arvalan and Miron and just says, "Apparently, I own land."
Your
within
father must have been
Thranduil's
quite a man.
kingdom. I've been told to speak to Neville about the inheritance process, but I've never more than traveled, passing through the Mirkwood.
You should treat this as a great honor.
That's the point. My father, he did some great deed. He earned these lands. I've done what I can to follow in his stead, but I don't feel they're rightfully mine. But to give him up, I feel like I'd be throwing away everything he accomplished. A little blindsided by this.
Well, I mean, if you were to give it up, I'm sure it could be given to good use otherwise.
He sort of looks to you both and says, "You know these lands better than I do, and I know not. I presume, like, I presume it's the sort of thing that just sort of says he owns this, and because it's not like I doubt
It's not a full itinerary
yeah,
of
yeah, exactly. So like, I'm just like, have you do you either of you know this particular place? How large what lies there?
I'll give you this, Myrrel, seeing as you rolled your 18 on your history, your traditions. You'll know that oh fuck me, I gotta find the spelling of it as well now. Elrond, gotta do a kind of scouse like you're. You know that it's essentially a land of orchards. It's not gigantic, but it does have an estate on it.
Okay, do I know roughly where it is and compare it to where the hall
Yes,
is?
you do. It is a 2 days march west of the Elven King's Halls.
Okay.
One other thing that you would note, Myrrel, is that technically because Hardwin was given these kind of almost citizenship rights, then Hardwin has inherited them the same as well, which would mean he's allowed to travel within Mirkwood without being blindfolded close to the Elven King's Halls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Up until now, I've just been agreeing with it because I'm awkwardly British. I'm just like, oh, everyone else is being blindfolded. I'll just pull my handkerchief out, blindfold myself.
I'll relay that information to him and say, if you want, we could travel there 2 days by foot. Straight west.
I looked at Arvalan because Arvalan's the one planning our journey, and just say, it's a lavish detour, and it draws us away. And to be completely blunt with you, I feel like if I go off pursuing something my father earned, instead of going out there and earning it for myself, well, it sends the wrong message in my eyes. But I can't just ignore this.
Arvalon reaches out and puts a hand on your shoulder, and he says, "No, take your time. See your estate. I have to research the rose and the sword."
Aye.
Take a week. Be here.
he looks surprised but yeah, he nods and just says, is there anything I can be doing in the meantime? I'm not one for traveling often. This was the first, and he sort of like just gestures like he's fallen, like his armor needs a little bit of repair, like he's just been caught up on stuff. He's not used to the long roads, and he just says, anything I should prepare for
So Arvalon is more used to delivering people to their destination than he is to traveling with people. And he kind of gives you a half smile and he says, "No, check the wine and ale stocks. We'll need a place to return to."
He laughs and he says, "Well, I'll see what the Lord of the Land has to say about that." All right. Well, Meryl, if it wouldn't be too much to ask, I could use a guide.
I will go with you. I'm curious to see this land for myself. And perhaps, if your father is as great as he was to be given this land in the first place, was smart enough to leave something behind for you.
One thing at a time. There's an estate that apparently I didn't know about. Why he didn't tell me, I mean, he planned on returning and we planned to speak more before his death, but I can't help wonder if I wasn't meant to know of this place.
Or perhaps he didn't think you were ready to know about it.
Bum, bum, bum.
That's the kind of encouragement I was looking for. Should we go?
All right.
As he sadly drags his shield
No,
behind
no.
him.
He openly smiles at that, like,
Sad
yeah, you're
Boromir.
right. Shut up.
All right, so Hardwin and Mirror are off. Arvalan, you mentioned wanting to do research into the sword and the rose. And Bartleby, what are you doing, spending your week doing? Stealing your
Well,
stuff?
you see, lad, Bartleby likes to do.
Brothels.
Honestly, if Bartleby gets too bored, he's just gonna start trouble again. His dwarven antics, really, because that's what he's known for back at home.
Mhm.
So I just
Okay.
kind of maybe even play a little bit of pranks against like the guards. I don't know.
Okay. Frank the guards. All right, I'll give you time to think about what you want to get up to. As we'll go with Hardwin and Mirrol heading to his old father's home, Elrinon. Now, it's 2 days' march, and Mirrol can guide the way quite easily. The two of you are allowed to walk these lands, and so occasionally you will run into a band of elves, but they'll stand down after recognizing you, or maybe never even actually approach you because their vision is so good and they've been kind of tracking you for some time. Until after 2 days, in the afternoon, you come to what appears to be a house. It's an elven house, and so once again it has a similar architecture to that of the King's Halls. It is quite beautiful in design, very kind of well designed for these forests, and it's just over kind of shadowed by an orchard which is filled with pears. And it seems there's a large kind of pear orchard in this area. The fruits, despite clearly not being tended to by anyone, there's no signs of life, seem to be growing full and rich in this area. And there are no lights on inside the house itself, which is, for human standards, and certainly for someone of Gondor, a very large house. They have a much more space in this place than they do back in the cramped kind of cities of Gondor and Osgiliath. And so it's to Mirror, this would probably be like the home that an elf would retire in. It's nothing fancy, but it's got like an orchard. There's even a small lake and a river and a small boat upon that in which you can do some fishing. So yeah, it looks like a very kind of comfortable house in which to live. The door is not open, doesn't appear to be locked.
Well, what do you think?
First question: have I had my weapons returned to me now we're not near the?
Yes, your weapons are returned. Yeah.
Okay. In which case, sort of like, he looks pretty nervous. I mean, him and his dad weren't necessarily the closest, but he'd like to think this would be something that would have been mentioned at some point. So
he's gonna start to walk slowly towards the door, and he'll call out, "Hello."
A voice comes from within. Hello? Who's out there? It's your father's voice, Hardwin.
What the fuck? Hardwin Hardwin sort of goes, like, half draws his longsword, and then, like, that is the most threatening, non-threatening thing that probably could have happened, and he's no idea what to do in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, is it worth briefly reminding the audience, how your father died?
So, at this point in time, this is set before the Lord of the Rings, and this is set before the Fellowship was gathered, and sort of when rumors spread, when Elrond was gathering people to Rivendell to gather the Fellowship to organize, what was to be done about the weapon of the enemy being rediscovered. Then he this was around about the time that Boromir retook Osgiliath. Unfortunately, that's not the world we live in yet. Boromir has yet to retake Osgiliath. However, the Steward of Gondor has had his eyes upon the wonder that is the fallen city of Osgiliath in the Kingdom of Gondor, and it used to be the capital. It was beautiful beyond compare, and it holds the river as well as a lot of memories. And it's a place that they've been pushed from a long time ago, and is overrun by creatures of shadow, orcs, goblins, all manner of foul creatures. His father was one of the last recon that was sent to investigate the area and test to see if a push was wise, and he didn't return. And it wasn't a case of like we were talking, and we were finally breaking bread, and he was very proud of how far Hardwin had come, and then he was gone. So it wasn't like Hardwin had no idea that he was even being called out, really. So to find out that he's had no way of recovering a body, so
Right. So now hearing your father's voice in this ancient home.
God. You know what? If we hadn't just seen whites, I'd be so over the moon or confused, but now I'm really worried. So he calls out and just says, "Father?"
You hear the kind of voice from inside. Come out from the dark. I can't see you out there.
Is it particularly dark where I am?
You see evening, afternoon.
Okay, yeah. So, Hardwin turns to Myrrell, and he's gonna keep one eye on the door. He's gonna draw close to her and just say, "That's my father's voice. And I knew of him to be dead. I was told he was dead." Be on guard.
I'll ready my crossbow.
Okay.
And just, if you spy anything like what we saw at Red Vale, I might not have the strength.
Understood. Find out the truth.
He's gonna tentatively step forward and he's still got like a hand on the hilt of his sword, but behind his back he's going to draw it's actually his dad's dagger that he carries, and he's going to sort of hide that as best he can up his sleeve, so he is actually armed and ready to react faster than drawing a sword. And he'll sort of step to the door, get us like within a couple of feet of the door.
So, yeah, you look inside, and there are, it's quite poorly lit, but you do see that there is actually a fire, kind of blazing in the hearth, and you see in this chair, kind of turned towards you, you see your father sitting in a chair. He does not appear to be spectral. He seems to be as you knew him, if somewhat older.
He just sort of freezes in the door.
As does your father, freezes.
How can this be? You never returned.
I couldn't.
You made it. You made it to the kingdom of Mirkwood. All of this way. But you couldn't make it. You couldn't make it home.
I was not allowed back.
But you are... You are sworn. You were a guard of the tower.
I was. Yes. Before.
There's no was. One doesn't just turn their back on such a duty. You taught me that.
I did. There was little choice for me if I was to save you. The steward of Gondor, not kind to my report. Was Gilead, it was clear to me when I spoke with him in private that there was no way of reclaiming that land with our current forces. This was one failure too many for our steward, whom had learned of my teachings to you, of the truth of this land, the truth of our people, that we are flawed, doomed alone. I entreated with him, begged him to reconsider, to speak with the elves and the dwarves, but he would not. He told me that night that if I was to stay, then it would not just be me who was exiled. And if I were to speak to you again, that you too would be thrown from these lands, and that is not something which I could abide by. Steward is a man on the verge of insanity. His mind narrowed to the point of being unable to see naught but what his visions tell him. He spoke to me dark words. My life was on the line. I didn't care about that. No, I cared about your position, your safety, your oath. I would not allow my failures to besmirch your own honor. So I left. But why are you here?
I was sent as an emissary to King Bard, representative of Gondor, to speak on behalf of no one, it would seem. It's just a way of keeping me out of trouble. So he sent me to these lands, and we arrived to find that King Bard was in the middle of some trouble.
See.
There was an assassination. One of the dignitaries from the Dwarven lands was murdered by his aide, and for that she was banished. But he unfortunately confided in her about a place known as a place that belonged to Vale in the King's eyes. It was far to the west in the Mirkwood, somewhere that he wished to find habitable. It would seem after our journey there, it is not. And instead we found nothing but shadow.
I see. Well, it is good that you are alive and well. And he'll go over towards you and embrace you in a hug. You notice he's very frail.
Hardwin takes a step away from him and shakes his head. You returned to deliver that message to the steward. You came back to the place we both called home. And you went straight to him. And you made no attempt to speak to me. How could you do that?
Did it to protect you.
You did it for yourself. Be damned my honor. The only reason I have ever served that man is because I followed in your footsteps. The only reason I took that oath was for you. You were my hero. You were everything. You turned your back on that oath, and you left me to carry your burdens. You left me with the man that you've just proclaimed a madman, to deal with his troubled mind and his hopeless ambition. Do you know how many of my men I have had to bury since I took your place? And meanwhile, you sit here in the lap of luxury. Did my father really die in that city? Did he ever come back? Did you fall in Osgiliath? Did you lose your damn mind? All sense of honor and respect? What is this place? Somewhere that you were granted for great deeds, selfless deeds. That is my father. These are his lands, and you are simply a shadow that lives in his wake.
Perhaps you're right. Perhaps Owen died in Osgiliath. But I would not have you die too, as I did. No matter what you think of me, what I did to protect you. This path is not an easy one, but whilst I was still on it, you could never have left it. It's places where I will die, where I will see out my days in shame. My oath has been broken, and that much is clear to me, that I have failed you, that I have failed our people. I am an example of the same weakness which I despise of men. I will not entreat you to stay. But I would not have you think of me as ill as you do. I will say this, perhaps one day you will understand my sacrifices. But you have important work to do, and I will not keep you from it.
When have you ever before? The dead rest. I hope you find some shred of peace in this place. And I hope one day my father might actually return home. Wherever home may be. And he might find that he still has family. And he will turn and leave shakily.
Okay, so Myrrel, you meet Hardwin outside.
You would have heard all of that, yeah.
Okay, I was wondering if I
no me
overheard.
being quiet about that. I was very, very angry.
Okay. Are you all right?
Yes. But it was a mistake coming to this place.
Perhaps.
We should return. It would appear these lands are forsaken.
Then let's be off.
All right. So the two of you leave the home of Hardwin and return back to the Elven King's halls. Now, Arvelan, cutting back to you. You've got a couple of... You got a week here. What are you doing in your week? You are muted.
First, I'm gonna unmute and drink.
Good idea.
So, based on what Thranduil said, this rose leads us to the sword of Sigurd the Lost.
Indeed.
So he wants to know how to do that. Like, he wants to know how this thing operates, how to make it work, how to turn it on, and then
turn it on and off.
this goddamn sword.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You can roll me a history check. So you're looking for these annals.
Sure. History check. I'm actually good at that. Yes, I am actually good at that, it turns out. So a 21.
Okay, 21's pretty damn good. So, what you read of ancient elven magic is kind of confusing. It's not magic in the sense that it would be in D&D, and that you cast clairvoyance and you're led towards your target. Instead, an understanding that you gain from it is that the rose will influence the emotion of the bearer, and will grow stronger in that feeling the closer you get towards the sword. So it's not a direct compass to it. It will tell you if you're hot or cold, but the problem is if you're very far away, it's going to be very cold for a long time, and so you would have to do some historical research as to exactly where Sigurd headed off to.
So that would be step 2.
That would be step 2. And then the closer you're getting to it, you should be able to tell from the rose. So you can roll me another history check to look into that.
Less great. The 10.
Okay. You know that Sigurd headed somewhere west of Mirkwood, which is a very big place.
The whole half of the continent.
Yeah, another half of the
is
continent,
west of
basically.
here.
Yep. Somewhere to the west. And if you want to spend more time over the week looking into this, then you can roll me one more check.
Yeah, I think the whole time that he would be that he'd be waiting for Hardwin would be doing this, and also making sure that Barnaby doesn't actually commit crimes or get caught. More importantly, as long as he doesn't get caught of crimes. So yeah, I'll give you one more history then. Slightly better. 14.
14's pretty good. Yeah. So you know that he headed to the west, somewhere to within the realms of Arnor.
Sweet.
But you don't have an exact location. But you suspect that there probably is no exact location in history records. And so if you, or it would be lost, right? Yeah. So if you were to travel to Arnor, hopefully the rose would be able to show you from there.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what research you get up to. Bartleby Stonefoot,
Hello.
what you thinking?
So over the course of the week, I'd probably be gorging on more honey cakes if they offer it to me. It's his newfound love. After that, I would probably go to like the archives or the annals, where and probably just read up on some maybe like elvish tales of like maybe fabled treasure, or like any rumors that they might have heard of like an elven barrow that's like haunted, that has some like unspoken treasure or something like that.
Yeah.
Anything to really get his, his fix on fame and glory.
Okay, roll me a history check.
I'm bad at that. But I got a 14.
Good. Okay, a 14, you say. That isn't so bad.
And if the scripture's in Elven, I'd probably ask for like a translation.
Do you have a dwarven translation?
Yes. I suppose we can figure something out. So what you learn of is this, if I can find it on my 50-page Word document. Yes, you learn of Osgullerem, the branding axe, which I will write here. Now, what you learn on this on a 14 history check is as such. It's an ancient dwarven axe found in the forges of Moria. It's said to be able to carve through enemies like a hot knife through butter, and was once owned by a dwarven warlord from Moria. As far as you know, it's in Moria still, but you're fairly sure that you'd have heard of the Goblin King. You're fairly sure that it's probably fallen into the hands of the enemy at this point.
Where is
so Moria is, let me find it here, the Mines of Moria, about there on the map. I'll draw a
that's
thing. So that's the Moria Gate.
Okay.
So if you're traveling to Arnor later on out of character, it's possible that you take the Moria Gate there. It's not something that's in the surrounding area, but it's certainly an item of great power. If you wanted to look for more items, specifically in the Mirkwood Mountains, you could roll me another history check. It'll be a higher DC though.
Yeah, I'll probably do something more local. I closed my character sheet for whatever reason.
No worries.
Yeah. 16. Even better.
Nice. Okay, very nice. So, what you learn of is this. And are you specifically looking for dwarven stuff, or is it just anything you can find?
Yeah, just anything I could find.
Okay.
Either like people that used to live in the mines that were even elvish or anything, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know why elves would be in the mines, but
True. Yeah, so you learn of an ancient band of dwarves who once did mine within the Mirkwood Mountains. They didn't bring up anything particularly precious in terms of mithril or anything, which to be more found in Moria. But it is said that they came across a jewel which had great powers. Now, whatever that means, it might suggest something akin to the Arkenstone to Bartleby, but it doesn't specifically say that it is an Arkenstone.
and for people in chat, I know what an Arkenstone is, but what is
Sure.
for the people in chat?
Yeah, you know the big shiny stone from the Hobbit movies. So this is something which what's his face before he died was Mike can remind me of his name. Handsome dwarf from the Hobbit movies who gets all crazy of the Arkenstone.
Do you mean Richard Armitage?
You mean Thrain?
Brain, thank you. Yes. Is his name? Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Yeah,
It's been a
Thorin,
long.
son of Thrain.
Thorin. Yeah.
Thrain was the one that went.
Ranger's dad, the one who went mad. Basically, think like the One Ring, but it's a big stone, and it kind of sends dwarves into this sort of gold lust kind of madness.
The legend around it is the heart of a mountain.
Sure.
So it would literally be the jeweliest of all the jewels, and there would only be one. One per mountain.
Okay. So, like, dwarves can't touch it, but other...
I mean, dwarves
species
really want it.
Oh,
like,
okay.
so this would be something to Bartleby that would be like, damn, if I could have me one of these, I'd be the richest dwarf in the world, you know?
Like,
Yeah, like
you
Thrain,
know how,
Thrain literally took it and put it in his throne.
Yeah.
As a
Yeah.
capstone
Oh,
of
okay.
his throne.
Okay.
And you would also know that even Thranduil turned up to pay homage to him. Like, he demanded like the elves turn up and bow. So it's a pretty lofty thing. But it's kind of like, think of it like this way. It's kind of like crack. You know it's good and you know you want it and it's worth a lot, but there are probably some consequences come with it and other people might get pissy if you have it.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, can I, like, write it? I'll tear it now. I'm kidding. I won't tear it off the book, but...
The elves are pissed off
I'll keep
enough.
note of it.
Yeah, I mean, you hear word that something has been stolen from the like the annals, like the museum room, you know, and that there are people searching for it. You haven't yet been called in for inspection, but you figure it's probably only a matter of time before Nerfo gets wise to your ways. They're trying not to racistly assume that it's you, but it's, to be honest, if something hasn't gone missing in hundreds of years and then some guys turn up and then it goes missing, it's kind of 2 and 2, right?
Just misplaced.
Yeah, just misplaced. Bartleby, how do you want to I'm guessing you want to hide it somewhere?
Yeah, I do want to hide it somewhere. Try to think if we're, like, coming back to the elf place. In which case, I would probably hide it in the annals somewhere. Like, either under a bookshelf, like, or something that is accessible for dwarfs. Or, like, a little hovel.
Sure. Yeah, you could hide it somewhere, you know, within these, like, ancient books that no one's ever going to look at.
Yeah, pretty much.
Stony the stone giant. The hell is this?
And I'll try to, like, just kind of slide it under there.
Okay.
And I'll make sure that I'm, you know, sneaky about it.
Okay. Fantastic. So, I think that's all of us. So, the group of you return, meet back up with Arvelan and Bartleby, and kind of reconvene back down in the annals, where Arvelan's been poring over the history of the sword and the rose. So Bartleby and Arvelan are already down here. Hardwin and Myrrel return.
What news?
I found more on the rose. Nothing useful yet. Possibly west, but I have found an alternate route, a safer route, but it will take us weeks to traverse it.
Well, on one hand, we don't know how long we have before they enact whatever plan it is, and how much strength a few wraiths lend to their overall scheme.
A few dozen.
Time might be of the essence.
I'll kind of. I'm down there with them, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
animals. Okay. I'll kind of chime in and be like,
Well, we can take the mines. I think I can navigate through them quite well.
I'll kind of pull out some. I don't know if did they take all of our possessions or just our weapons.
Just your weapons.
Okay, I'll pull out some like mason tools that I have.
My father used to be a carpenter, and I'm quite adept to navigating through the mountains.
Well, there is also the other side of that coin. If we go off on this foolhardy journey and don't return, it could be weeks, months, even before Thranduil knows we failed. And in that time, even more damage could be done. It's not my intention to see any of you hurt. It's not my intention to see many of you hurt. He amends, realizing the dwarf is here.
Listen, lad, we can take care of ourselves if you're worried about some foolhardy journey. I don't know what your kin accustomed to, but I can handle myself.
It would seem neither of us are particularly in touch with what my kin are like anymore. It's been... It doesn't matter. So, Arvelan, I guess the choice is yours. I'm willing to fight. I'm actually quite looking forward to a fight, to be fair. But is it a fight we can win, make it out on the other side, and have the strength to continue into increasingly hostile territory? Do we take the safer road, conserve our strength, arrows, food?
The way I look at it is this. We can travel through the mountains. There will be goblins. And he looks to Bartleby. There will be treasure. Or we can travel the elf path for weeks and see Bjorn, who may know more of the Rose and may know more of Radagast. But I have no knowledge of Bjorn. I cannot get an audience as I can here.
Will. Has Bjorn... Yeah. So I read up on Bjorn in the book. Bjorn has quite a following, I believe.
Yeah.
The woodman.
A woodman.
The whole woodman.
Beornings.
Yeah. Like there's a whole bunch of people.
You could roll me a history check if you want to know about.
Yeah. Because I've got that neat little thing that lets me know people all over the world. So I just want to see if like I know anyone 20.
Sure. We'll say you've got a friend who, not a friend, but an acquaintance who's a Beorning, whom I will find a name for.
Yeah, that's cool. I just say
Brack.
I don't know.
Brack will be
I
his
don't
name.
know of Bjorn himself, but I know of someone who might see us through his land. He's more of a passing acquaintance. Brack knew my father. I'm sure he'd offer us on my father's good name, which he chews out with some spite, some safe passage, and maybe even an audience with Bjorn himself. Knowledge is one hell of a weapon.
Agreed. I feel if we are more equipped to face whatever is happening in the south in exchange for potentially them gaining more strength would be better than if we were to die in the mountains.
One would assume that he would know more of this Radagast.
From what I know of Beornings, the woods folk, they have a strong affinity with the Mirkwood. I don't know too much about them, but I know that they consider this place their ancestral home, as far back as they have ancestry. They remember a time when it was known by a slightly more reputable name, when it was a place of light. They fight to protect that light at every turn. They make powerful allies.
Bartleby, would it be known that you're a big fan of There and Back Again? Have you made mention of that at all?
I'm sorry, a fan of what?
There and Back Again, the Hobbit's Tale.
Oh yeah, I have like a copy.
So at Hardwin's, Jesus Christ, of Hardwin's, when he finishes talking, he kind of looks to you and he says, "Your halfling book. What does it say of Bjorn?" Anything useful?
I'll kind of like skim through the pages, like because I read it a couple times, just kind of jump to the part. Do you want me to do like a history check, or do you want me to, or do you want to just spout what I know?
Yeah, you can spell what you know. I mean, Bartleby is, well versed. That's like his thing. So you don't know Bjorn personally, but you know of him and of his people, and you know of traditions in approaching Bjorn. They are not friendly to outsiders, as is the case in much of Middle-earth. But they are very partial to gifts, like natural gifts, so like food works very well for them. Also, honey cakes. Also, if there are services in their lands that need doing, they will allow travelers to prove themselves by performing said deeds. So those are the good ways to approach the Beornings. The bad way to approach them, which will often see you just die, is that you ask or demand a meeting with Bjorn, and they'll just eat you, because you're not actually legally allowed to travel within their lands. So it's probably a good idea to send a word ahead as well.
Oh, okay.
Where are the elven kind here, friends with Bjorn and his kin? Does anyone know? Because if we don't have a friendly party telling them of our whereabouts and our comings, we could be facing with some cannibalism.
It's possible that Thranduil and the kings, if you were to send one from their foe, that would be seen as enough.
Yeah, I would sort of say if we could seek out this associate of my father's, he might be able to help lead us there, but so far as entering the lands, that's gonna have to come from someone more important than us. And I have never met Brack personally. I only know him by description. And I haven't even been given his description yet, because we'll only just make him.
He's got a big old beard, and he's well set, and he can turn into a big scary thing.
Exactly every other man that has ever lived in Middle-earth.
Unfortunately, he's a clone.
He's literally every other Beorning.
And this is when you guys realize that what we're actually playing is Star Wars with Middle-earth crossover. Star Wars meets Middle-earth meets the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Isn't it great?
Hardwin turns to the dark side.
Yep.
This army is for Gondor. And just like tons and tons of elves just pour out. It's wonderful.
They're all Legolas,
Yep.
even though he should be.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
so-
quite partial to go through the mountain. I don't necessarily like dealing with being placed on the menu, if you catch my drift, but
That's all right. I hear dwarfs taste terrible.
so you've eaten a dwarf then, or you're friends with someone who eats dwarfs?
No. But I've seen hungry wolves and dogs.
And you
turn your
don't save
kind
my
down.
kin, is that it? You just leave them to the rabid dogs?
Some of them didn't stay on their feet long enough for us to rescue them.
I regret my decision more and more every day.
You'll be fine. Just keep your hands to yourself. For once.
Again, I like flash my hands like.
I'd love so much if you held up your hands and one of them was just a wrist. Like, oh.
Oh, you can explain that.
It's a trick of the light.
It always is.
It's just a conjure of cheap tricks. Okay, so I guess we head off. So from what I understand, we have to get in good with the elves, to get in good with Beornings, to get in good with Radagast, to get into Dol Guldur. That's like, I know I'm not actually taking the piss. That's genuinely the plan, right?
So, yeah.
Pretty much, I guess. So
Okay.
And then if we take a large kite and tie it to a cart, we can get faster.
It's
Well, I've
logistical
heard
roll.
of some eagles that can fly us
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
but
well,
Yeah. What are their rates like, the Eagles? Because they're like Uber.
don't worry, guys. I know 5 guys. They can do this. Okay, so speaking of Nerfo, because Thranduil is fucking busy. So Nerfo can be found in his chambers, which are adequately, large for one of his stature, within, both physically, I guess, because he's quite tall, and also because he's the right-hand man of Thranduil. So you can find him within a glittering caverns. He sits up from his desk as he's in this beautifully decorated home. You realize that there is a woman with him who you assume to be Nerfo's wife. She is silver-locked, incredibly, elvish beauty to her as well, and is wearing a similar outfit to Nerfo, but a kind of feminine version, I suppose, still formal robes. Nerfo bows, and kind of casts her a look, which is, this is business, honey, sorry. And she heads into that kind of kitchen area where you can smell delicious foods cooking. How can I be of service to you all? I have sent the letters, of course, which you asked of me.
Yes, there's one more. How well has your relationship been with Bjorn since the war?
With the elves, he has been frosty towards us, as can only be expected of one of his kind. They are people who keep themselves to themselves, but they are not enemies of ours by any stretch.
Could you send a letter and announce us?
Your
Requesting
arrival.
audience through his lands.
Yes, I could, although there are no guarantees as to what they return.
I think he may hold more information on the Rose and Radagast.
Might you be able to seek out a citizen of Bjorn's?
He, kind of scrunched up his face a little bit. It's possible. Is this individual of any note?
I presume it's sort of like the deal with the perk is, someone of note, but they don't have to be particularly important. Maybe it's just,
Yeah,
really baker or something.
yeah,
he's like the village idiot.
the village idiot here, so. You mentioned the name Brack, and he says, I'm afraid not. I can send out word along with that letter, though.
Could you see to it that if he is willing and still resides there, that he meet us as a guide through the lands.
I'll send that along as well.
Thank you.
So when do you leave?
Everyone looks to Arvelan.
He looks to everyone and says, as soon as you're ready.
In which case, there's one more thing which I would speak to you about. And he'll sort of turn to everyone a little uncomfortably and say, may we have the room?
Are you saying this to Arvelon or to...
To
To you
all of
guys, yeah,
To all of you.
basically, get out.
Yep.
And if that's okay, he'll sort of like wait for everyone to sort her out.
Yep. I guess they file out when they are otherwise. And therefore turns back to you. Yes?
The lands. The lands of
Elrenon.
Elon. They belong to my father.
Yes.
And he sort of puts down the paper. How long has he been here?
Nerfo size. I'm not sure I can tell you that. Your father is protected by the king.
He has been dead to all knowledge that I had for some time. I just wanted to know the nature of his arrival in these lands. How it came to be.
Consider this between you and I alone. But I believe he was brought in badly wounded, hunted by people across the lands. He said they were men. The elves tracked them. They came from your lands. We tracked them as far as the river would let us, and then, well, presumably they returned to the White City. It would seem as though he fled for his life.
Fucking coward.
He doesn't pass judgment.
Has he... This is an odd question for me to ask.
You're an odd man.
I take after my father. Or so I thought. Is he well thought of in these lands?
Those who remember, yes. For a human.
And his wounds. He looked frail, and the orchards, they're spilling forth with fruit, but no one tends to them. Does he live there alone?
He does. Whatever he saw within Osgiliath, some shadow has taken hold. It will not be long. His wounds were unable to be fully healed by our healers. And with his age, the body is not so kind.
I understand. When he passes, what happens to his body in these lands?
Truly, I am not sure. I would suspect he would be granted an honorary burial within our lands, if not returned to the White City.
I don't know how long I'm going to be gone for, and I don't know if I'm coming back. But he sort of he's going to reach into his sort of travel pack, I guess, that he's got with him, and he's going to fetch out what is just a very simple chain, and on it is almost like a locket.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a stone that's kind of being clasped by sort of. I mean, it's very crude. It's a very unpolished stone, but it's being clutched in what looks like a metal claw of some sort. And he hands it to him and says that this was a gift that he gave to my mother, or so I've been told. He fished it from the river that flows through Osgiliath on one of the more successful scouting missions. He gave it to me a few days before I thought he died. Would you see that he is buried with it, if I don't get to see him again before?
Therefore, we'll take a bit of a sigh. Yes, suppose I will.
You do me a great kindness. Whoever is most deserving of the lands afterwards, I hold no claim to them.
You should know that they are worth a great deal of money from where you come from. Priceless, some would say.
Well, if they're priceless, they'll never sell. And from what I've been told by Myrrell, if they are not claimed by inheritance, they go to those who deserve them. That's how my father came to earn them. And so they shall be up for claim again to someone who deserves such lands.
That much is true. You can, of course, put in a recommendation upon handing over.
Well, a small part of me that still clings to a sense of humor muses over the idea of Bartleby living in Mirkwood, but I don't think I could face Thranduil's wrath. But I take note of your counsel. And
Well,
I will certainly think on it.
There may be others amongst your number. Very well, Hardwin. And he emits the son of Hardwin. And he does a little bow.
Hardwin does a little bow and says, well, if I may return the kindness you showed me, you're not bad for an elf. And you will smile and take his leave.
Alright. So you're back on the group.
Goddamn, well, fucking sorry.
So when he walks out, Arvelon is doing that creepy Aragorn thing where he's standing outside the door with like a foot up on the wall.
Just grabs me by the shoulder.
Yeah, and he looks to you and he says, "We had a talk not so long ago. And I told you then, and I'm going to tell you now. There's troubles on the road. There's a darkness growing. What's happened in the past, best stay in the past." And then he just kind of turns and walks from you.
Hardwin sort of nods and adjusts his
jerk in and follows, I guess, because yeah, he's gonna bury this.
Okay. Miral, anything you want to do before I guess you guys leave?
I think I'm okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
No worries, and I'm guessing the same is true of Bartleby?
Well, if we're like leaving right away, I'm gonna go back to the annals and get my little trinket and hide it in my honey cakes sack of like I'm assuming I have a lot.
Oh yeah.
Kind of hide it in the bottom.
Yeah, I'm guessing at this point
Where like it's
you've
covered,
stashed. You
It's
stashed.
like a wedding proposal. You just jam it in the honey cake.
pretty much like depending on how big it is.
Can we make him roll like a history check to remember and not eat the tiara?
Yeah.
He just pulls it out.
Like,
This honey cake's a
you've
bit
got that
tough.
wonderful- It's that Tom and Jerry moment where it just you watch it sort of slide down his throat, his circling.
It's a very solid cake.
That's gonna be a painful out.
Okay, so final run through of the path for me, as much as to remind yourselves. I'll go over to Arvelan and Miral. Which way are we headed?
It sounds like we agreed we're headed west. We're headed west down the elf path to hopefully meet Bjorn.
All right, and then from there, learn more. I guess avoid the mountains themselves.
Yeah, so
Yep.
head west down the elf path, meet Bjorn, hopefully learn more about the Rose, learn more about Radagast and how we can appease him, and then travel through safe lands, through the Vales, and down like the Woodman land.
Okay. So Nerfo is there once again to see you off. And he's got his elves ready with boats. And to take you down to like the first part of your journey will require travel by boat, as does much of leaving the King's Halls, even if you're headed west. And Nerfo, he's there and he says, "Are people heard of your troubles getting here? We have many eyes and trees regarding boats, that is. These ones should see you there safely without too much of your own involvement."
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mirel. See to it that these... And he leaves it there. Make it there. Whilst they might not have the favour of Thranduil, their survival is important. Also, you should all know that there are rumours of a larger gathering of these goblins. That Nugraga, the dark emissary with whom you brought word from, well, it would seem as though his forces are marshalling and growing ever stronger. There is talk of other beasts than just goblins along your path. Be careful traveling to the west.
When we arrive at the Beornings, we'll send word.
Very good. Then he extends like an elven handshake to Arvelan.
And he returns it.
Yeah. Does a little kind of clasp. Good. Safe travels to your friends. And he leans in to Arvelan, so only you can hear him. And he says, "The path of shadow corrupts the minds of men. Make sure that your companions do not fall under that influence, as I sense the taint of shadow upon them already."
A watchful eye will be kept.
He gives you a grave nod and returns back to the boats as you guys get on board. Now, you can all travel in one boat. Or you can take several if you'd prefer. What kind of formation would you like to go?
I would probably go in the boat that looks like the person knows what they're doing the most, because Bartleby does not like boats or water. He doesn't know how to swim, so he tries to stay far clear away from anything that keeps him off his feet. So he'll go with someone that knows what the hell they're doing to steer the boat.
Okay. So I'm guessing, once again, is it Hardwin who's given control of this boat? Is it really?
Hardwin and Arvelan travel in separate boats to show that beautiful scene of Aragorn and Boromir both rowing separate boats and staring at each other angstily over the river.
So much sexual tension.
I know, yeah.
You're still longing. You're not sure. You're unclear.
Just, you know what? You know who is clear, unfortunately? The dwarf who can see our true intent. He's just like, oh, you disgust me.
Get a room, you two.
Get a boat, you bitch.
This playful splashes along the river. Stop.
Stop it.
Oh god.
Hardwin.
Hardwin, you're
Oh,
such
God.
a hard one.
I'm not being funny, but Arvelan would see that white tree reflourish.
Wow.
So, is it a survival check?
It is a survival check for this boat, just to get out without too much embarrassment.
Yeah, I'm all about the paddling. Take note, Arvelan.
It's all in the paddles. It's all in the paddles. 22. Ain't bad at all, my friend. Ain't bad at all. So yeah.
Arvelan, fuck this up.
Somehow.
I have advantage, so 24.
Wow.
Oh, you bastard.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Hardwin takes the win. Sorry, Arvelan takes the win rather over Hardwin. So yes.
No one wins when Mike
No one wins when there's boats in this party, let's be honest. So the group you head out, initially taking the kind of western river out of here for some time. It's only going to be a day whilst you're upon these boats, and the journey itself is very tranquil and peaceful. In fact, many of you guys can find yourselves kind of nodding off to sleep if you're not doing anything actively, as the rivers here are incredibly peaceful, as I say, and it's as if there is some kind of spell upon these lands which will force you to relax. And so,
Maybe, like groaning, like trying to hurl.
anyone that has any shadow can remove 2 points of shadow as you travel over these tranquil lakes to the west, which I think is probably just the two of you guys at this point. Or maybe Muriel has some. It's been a
I
while.
don't have any.
Oh, I'm shadow clean.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna scrub myself.
Yeah, okay. So you feel somewhat rejuvenated and somewhat restored by this. And then your boat journey comes to an end. And in fact, it would be good if, Mike, if you don't mind, like freehand drawing your exact route that you want to be taking.
Yeah, hold on, let me find it on this map.
Yeah, no worries.
So we're here, the elf path, this is the old map. So I believe the elf path pretty much goes here into Beornlands, and then we'll be going down to Karok, which I believe is right near Bjorn's hall. I think his hall's right over here. That green
Yeah,
map.
yeah.
So once we hit like right here, that little blah blah just made, we'll be taking the elf path from there.
Okay. Fantastic.
If my math is correct.
Yeah, yep. That seems like maths
Would we
on this end.
Would we be passing the orchard? Like his orchard? His
Um,
dad's orchard?
You would be traveling near those lands. So you wouldn't go directly through it. It's not so huge as to kind of be along your path. But if you were to travel somewhat southwards, you could get to Elon. If anyone wants to.
No, I was just curious.
Okay.
Bartleby, you can have it when my dad's dead, okay? I love the idea of you living here.
I mean,
and
I was
paying
gonna
Thranduil
speed up the
rent.
death.
Oh, cool. That's cool. Yeah, you should do that. I really want to see that conversation with Thranduil when you walk in and go, well, I killed Hardwin. Does that mean I get his land?
So I get his house now. Is that how that
Dwarf
works?
assassin masquerading as a treasure hunter.
Okay.
Good
So yes, the boats finally stop, and you come to the Elf Road, and immediately before you, you see the darkness of Mirkwood surrounding you once again, as the heavy glades are about to, canopies are about to overshadow the light which shines in Thranduil's lands, and with a heavy heart, the group of you muster yourselves and prepare for the journey onwards. And the journey onwards is gonna have to be next episode, I think, because often with these journeys we come at the perfect points to end the stories as we're about to start our new expeditions, and that's exactly what we'll be doing next week, my friends. So thank you guys for watching. We're going to wrap up tonight's session there at a nice little point, I think, as our next journey will begin, and as we travel off to meet with Bjorn, which will only go well, I know. Thank you, Mike, for the cheer. If you guys enjoyed it, please do let us know there in chat. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you can't let us know. I guess you can let us know in a comment, which we'll read, or at least I will. Mike definitely won't. I don't let Mike read the YouTube comments. They're just they're too full of hatred. It will just make him sad. But thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the show, of course, hit that follow button if you haven't. But let's go around the cast and crew. What do we think? It's a nice session. Again, another slow burner. But I quite enjoyed that with these sessions, as we've learned a lot about Hardwin today. We've learned a lot more about Middle-earth in general, I suppose, about Sigurd and the Rose. There's a plan at last, which is good. The purpose of the campaign, I think, has been kind of fully set. And yeah, the fellowship are together. Let's go to Mike first of all.
Sweet. Yeah, I like the slow burners. That's I'm a big fan of those. I like the heavy role play. And I feel like with Lord of the Rings, with Middle Earth, I think it's usually more story than combat. So
Yeah.
I think the slow burn fits perfectly here, and I'm really digging it. And I also didn't see Josh's dad coming back to life, so that was a shocker. But yeah, I am Mike. I'm here every Monday from 4 to 7 p.m. You can find me over on my channel, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, doing more D&D stuff, some Blades in the Dark, and some random video games throughout. If you guys want to see more of this ugly mug, feel free.
Fantastic. Kira.
Yeah, no, same thing. That plot twist, though, I was like, what? Yeah, and I think it was good too for like Muriel and Hardwin to kind of have that time, sort of bonding time. It was really stressful for
Kind of
him,
awkward, right?
It was awkward, but I feel like, it was some sort, you could count it as bonding, because
Yeah.
he had tried reaching out to her in the past and she was like, "Mm."
Yeah. For in terms of elves and human relationship, that was bonding.
Yeah. But otherwise, I do art on Twitch here.
Yeah.
I paint stuff. It's really fun and chill, and then sometimes I'll do streams in the morning and play with my new kitty Luna. She's super cute. So if you want to check that out, you can go watch me there.
Fantastic. Josh.
Yeah. Again, somehow, after 5 years of having Will as my DM, I still just was like, who the fuck is... I was like my head, I was like, I wonder what squatters' rights are like in Elven. Like, that was what was going through my head when you said your father's voice. Hadn't even entered my thoughts, and I left that so obscure and hanging there, and just forgot to cover all my bases with backstory and knowing that will fuck with me. So yeah, it's good.
Still got some tricks up his sleeve.
Exactly.
Still got
very angry at you.
Yeah.
Very angry at Dad.
You should be angry at yourself, really.
Yeah, I am always. I'm disappointed in you, but most of all, disappointed in myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to like getting out there and getting some exploring. I'm looking forward to all of the horrible things that Elven Lady has threatened me with. But
Oh god, it's getting so bad next week.
And I'm looking forward to actually caring about Bartleby at some point. I know he has a purpose, and it's more than just stealing everything from our hosts. Maybe.
Well, Find out next time.
To be fair, no one liked Bilbo until like the end of the book.
Yeah, no,
That's true.
No one liked Bilbo until they threw him in front of a dragon.
Very true. Very true. And Revolver.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to parrot what Mike said. I'm really a big fan of these heavy roleplay, low combat type games. Not to say I don't like combat, it's just I love the heavy roleplay, and I do like Lord of the Rings, although I'm not terribly familiar with it. Although I do like the universe of it itself. But yeah, I had a great time. Definitely starting to flesh out Bartleby a little bit more instead of making him like a stereotypical Scottish dwarf.
Sure. Yeah, no, I like him. I like him. I think there's definitely a lot more depth of character for us to explore with Bartleby. We've just had 2 extra sessions with the other players, so...
yeah, exactly, and it sucked because I'm sad I missed those 2 sessions.
Yeah, it's okay. Like I say, we've got plenty of time to play with Bartleby and to learn more about him, so I think time will only tell with that. You've got a channel as well, right, Robert?
Yeah, I do the stream thing on Twitch. On Revolver C, I'm a variety broadcaster. I do late night, so that would be 10:30 p.m. Pacific time, 6:30 a.m. GMT. So I just finished Crash Bandicoot, which was a terribly hard game, but it was fun.
Sweet. Do you find that when you go back and play games you were really good as a kid, you're just like, how did I ever beat this game?
Yeah, it's the HD remake, so it's like total 3D, and I have horrible depth perception, so I just like it's terrible. Bad mixture.
Oh man, I gotta catch up on that sometime. Fantastic. Again, go follow this cast and crew. Go follow the entire cast and crew of Encounter Roleplay. There's like 30 of us. Go check them out. Go show them some love. They've all got their own projects. They're working their own things. They all deserve your time and attention and your love. Dare I say it, they deserve your dongers. I do dare. I have dared. I have said it. Now, other than that, guys, I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Tuesday, which means that at 12 p.m. I will be on a channel known as Arvin Elrond's channel. He's a great guy, Gregory Wilson. Some of you guys might know him. He's written a bunch of novels. He works with Ed Greenwood. He's a lovely DM. He runs his own D&D channel over there, and I'll be over there with Lauren from the previous game, That Salty Ginger, and a chap called Trendane, and a girl called Tarry Toons, who's a fantastic cartoonist. We're playing more Middle-earth, Adventures in Middle-earth. I'll actually be playing that one rather than DMing, so that's a nice experience for me. And then at that, 4 p.m. Eastern, I'll be back with Josh for that game, What We Play, which is known as The Long March. So, yeah, join us for that with Laura Lania, Erho, Louise, and Tool School of Fullcast and crew back for that one. I'm looking forward to my friends. If you've missed any of these episodes, go catch up on the YouTube channel or check out the recaps. Go check out the website, actually. There's a bunch of new articles on there, and I mentioned this earlier in chat, but if you're ever interested in doing some writing and bits like that, then keep an eye on my Twitter, because that will be a thing which is happening soon, where you can do a bit of writing on Encounter Roleplay. And that will be cool. But other than that, guys, I'll stop fucking talking and let you guys go and get some food and go to bed and go watch whoever about to host. Until then, my friends, try not to roll too many nat ones. I want to be rolling? I don't fucking know. I can't even do my own outro. I've been rolling around on the floor laughing. Yes, that's exactly what I'll be doing, because that's
10 out of 10 pro streamer.
That's what I do. Yeah, I've only done that 5,000 times. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time, and good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.